We are coming to you from a city beautiful Chicago, Illinois, where tonight WGN Sports presents White Sox baseball. This Jose Abreu, Alexi Ramirez, Paul Konerko on the Sox as they get set to butt heads with Victor Martinez, Miguel Cabrera, and the Detroit Tigers. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrell, since we get set to bring you the third of this four-game set and the second of this day-night doubleheader. In the opener last night, it was just too much Verlander. They won that ball game 7-1. And then what a pitching matchup we had in the opener of the set this morning. We had Chris Sale against Max Scherzer. They scored 3 runs off Chris Sale in the first inning. We got an unearned run in the bottom of the first. And then in the third inning, things happened.
Third inning is where the Sox put it away. And with 1 out, nobody on, it started with who else? Adam Eaton. Then Alexi Ramirez. Then Jose Abreu. And Adam Dunn put the topper on the inning with a 2-run homer. There it is. It's number 460 of his career. It's number 20 this year. At that point, they had enough runs to win, but they added a couple more and made some insurance as Chris Sale won his 11th of the year.
And our bullpen did cover the outs that needed to save that ball game. But an interesting situation tonight, especially for the Tigers. They're trying to run contend in a divisional race. They're running a rookie out there, and we are too.
It's really tough to get a first major league start in a situation like this where the Tigers have a meaningful game. The Sox want to see what their youngsters look like, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So we had a battle of Cy Young Award contenders in the first game, and 2 guys in Kyle Ryan, who threw very well at Toledo, Chris Bassett, who threw very well at Birmingham. These guys are going head-to-head. For the Tigers, it means a whole lot more, but for the Sox, putting a dent in the Detroit Tigers' quest for the top, that would be gratifying.
Well, it's always tough to win a doubleheader, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to sweep the Tigers in this doubleheader. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
An on-field ceremony prior to the start of tonight's game. The team was presented with some terrific gifts from the White Sox organization.
The White Sox are honored and privileged to recognize the Jackie Robinson West All-Stars accomplishments with several gifts. As these talented young men prepare to start school again, the White Sox are providing the 13 team members with a back-to-school package. The package includes a White Sox backpack, a copy of the book Opening Day, the story of Jackie Robinson's first season, and $100 in school supplies. The Jackie Robinson West Little League team has played a major role in sparking interest in youth baseball across Chicagoland. On behalf of Chicago White Sox Charities, Chairman Jerry Reinsdorf and Executive Vice President Ken Williams will now present a $20,000 check to the Jackie Robinson West Little League.
Afterwards, the team took a victory lap around the bases here at U.S. Cellular Field and received congratulations from the White Sox players and coaches as they rounded third and crossed home plate. We're going to visit with 3 members of the Jackie Robinson West Little League team a little later on in tonight's game. So stay tuned. We'll have the lineups of tonight's first pitch after these messages. This game's available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting, provided by 97.5 FM ESPN Deportes, Chicago's first and only Spanish language sports radio station. So with the Sox trying to sweep the doubleheader after a great pitching matchup with Chris Sale besting Max Scherzer. They're going to face a first-time Major League starter, and let's take a look at how Brad Ausmus is going to line him up for the nightcap. Rajay Davis to lead it off, then Ian Kinsler in the 2 spot. Miguel Cabrera at first base with Victor Martinez, who's been red hot this year and always does well against the Sox. Then it's J.D. Martinez, Alex Avila, Don Kelly, Andrew Romine, and Ezequiel Carrera rounding it out. The White Sox defense and how they will line up behind Chris Bassett. Viciedo, Eaton, and Garcia in the outfield with Leury Garcia, Ramirez, Sanchez, and Canerco in the infield. Adrian Nieto will catch the second game of the doubleheader. And Chris Bassett on the hill. The young right-hander had a pretty good run at it in Double-A Birmingham. He was 3-1, his ERA 156. He made 6 starts for them. Opponents hitting just 206, which is pretty good. So hopefully the Butterflies will not get the better of him tonight. And we got to wish him well. So the umpires for the ball game tonight: Pat Hoberg behind the plate, Laz Diaz is at first, Jeff Nelson is at second, and Marcus Patillo is at third. So after that loss in the first game, the Tigers now are 1 game back of Kansas City, pending the outcome of Kansas City's game and this second half of the doubleheader here tonight. Beautiful night for baseball, 81 degrees. The wind not quite as much of a factor, it seems, as it was in the first game. That one started at 12 o'clock. And from the standpoint of just pure baseball, it was a great pitcher's duel. Didn't quite work out that way as you would have expected, but Chris Sale did win number 11. And again, it was a matchup of Cy Young Award contenders And Chris Sale and his ball club beat Max Scherzer and his ball club. So they've thrown the ball around the infield, which means we're ready to play baseball, and I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Steve, thank you. And once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here with WGN Sports for the second of this day-night doubleheader. And I'll guarantee you, in Chris Bassett's entire lifetime of 25 years, he has never had this feeling before.
No, it's something that he'll remember the rest of his life, regardless of how this works out.
Here's Rajai Davis to lead it off, and Bassett looks in, gets the sign from Adrian Nesio in his first pitch of his major league career. Taken for a strike. Bassett, 6'5", 210 pounds, out of Curtis, Ohio. That fastball at 94 misses, and the count 1-1. Davis hitting at 285. He's 2 for 3 in this series. And there's a nice snap. And 1 out.
That's a great man to keep off base. He is our most prolific base stealer. And you don't have to worry about yet another one if he's sitting on the bench.
That's the last thing that he would have needed. Have a man who's 31 for 39.
Go, yes. Unfortunately, he doesn't have to go into the stretch because of his good glove work, and it was hit to the glove side, made the play easily.
So here's Ian Kinsler hitting at 277. 2 for 7 in the series with a homer and 3 RBIs. Very, very, always has been and probably always will be one of the most aggressive hitters in the American League. At the top of the order all year, and he still has 72 RBIs. Tigers as a club came in today hitting at 274 with a 4.05 team ERA. Outfield straight up, spread out. And the count 2-1. In Bassett's minor league career, he is 22-10. That ball hit high into left center field. Adam is there. 2 down.
Well, you certainly have to hope that he retires Cabrera, because the last thing you want to see in your first inning of work is both Cabrera and Martinez hitting back-to-back. But that's how Brad Ausmus put him in the lineup. That's how they normally are in the lineup.
Cabrera 1 for 9 in this series, comes in at 301, 17 homers and 90 knocked in. Man's playing virtually on one leg, one good leg, I should say. But we all know he is a guy who does not want to come out of that lineup. He wants to play each and every game and each and every inning.
That was a good moving fastball. And when you're ahead 0-1, you can throw that ball in off the plate and usually get a swing. This one's a good 4 or 5 inches inside, and Cabrera could do nothing with it.
And sometime in this game, though, he's going to have to prove to the Tiger hitters he can get a breaking ball over or something off speed. Because if they look at him and he's coming nothing but fastballs for strikes, he's in trouble.
If you can disregard the slider or curveball, and he appears to have both, then 92 to 94 is pretty good hitting speed.
Well, it just shortens it up when you throw out the curve or the slider. There's a curve. He gone. So a beautiful first inning to his major league debut.
Second game, Adam Eaton, Alexei Ramirez, Jose Abreu, the DH again. Avisail Garcia, Dan Viciedo, Paul Canerco, Carlos Sanchez, Adrian Nieto, and Yuri Garcia rounded out. Let's look at the defense and how they'll line up behind Kyle Ryan. It's Davis, Carrera, and Martinez in the outfield with Kelly, Romine, Kinsler, and Cabrera in the infield. Alex Avila behind the plate. And Kyle Ryan, and here's his first major league start. Those are Double-A numbers. At Erie, who was 7-10, his ERA a little above 4.5. Made 21 starts, gave up more hits than innings. He doesn't have an overwhelming fastball, so he's going to have to change speeds like most guys, mix it up, and see what he can do. As Adam Eaton leads it off, hitting .312 with a home run and 33 driven in. He also scored 2 runs in the first ball game. Fouls that one straight back. And for the season, especially since coming back off the disabled list, Adam Eaton's been stinging the baseball and hitting some good pitches and some good pitchers.
Well, he should. He's a good player.
And our ball club is a whole lot better with him at the top.
Yes, we're just 2 different clubs. I mean, and it's just not our club. If a lot of clubs had Adam Eaton at the leading off, they would be a different ball club. That's just how simple it is.
That fastball at 87 up in the eyes of Eaton, who didn't swing at it, and the count goes to 1-2. Little chopper, tough play. Romine coming in, guns it across, and they get it. There's no doubt Miguel Cabrera has never seen the curveball of Chris Bassett. So he absolutely has seen it now. Catches just a piece of the inside corner.
That's amazing. His major league debut, he's got Miguel Cabrera at the plate, and he lets the curveball work for him. I mean, you're going to have 98% of the guys out there overthrow the first curveball.
Didn't happen.
You guys know, I mean, that was impressive. That pitch right there was really impressive. As here's Alexei. Alexei hitting at .283, 13 homers and 64 knocked in. Alexei's a couple of runs scored an RBI in the first of this doubleheader this morning at 12. And there's a base hit by Cabrera. He's going to give it a go. Here's the throw off the mark. So he'll pick up his, excuse me, he just rocketed to death for his 29th double. And here's Abreu. Abreu is 6 for 7 in this series. Kyle Ryan out of Auburndale, Florida. That's between Orlando and Lakeland and close to Winter Haven.
He's going to have to be letter perfect with his control because that fastball probably tops out at 90. If he doesn't hit his spots, he's going to give up a few runs.
Now he's got a little short arm in him, so it might have a little deception to help it out.
You would think at 6 for 7, Tigers' 12th round draft pick in 2010, he'd be pretty careful with Abreu with first base open, especially when he's got 6 hits in the series.
Well, he's not the only one to be careful with.
Avisail Garcia in the on-deck circle, the former Tiger, wanting to do some damage against his former club.
There's a strike. Sox came in hitting today at 256 as a team with a 4.39 ERA. Sox 33 and 35 here at home. Breaking ball, and that's ball 4.
Well, he really gave him nothing to hit in that at bat, and with first base open, might be a wise choice. But Avi can put a charge into it also.
Avi 2 for 7 in the series, comes in at 234 with 4 homers and 13 knocked in. And for all of you watching our Sox over WGN around the country, it's just amazing that he has been able to return to playing after that surgery to his labrum. Outfield slightly to the right. And he takes ball 1. And now Alex will go out and try to sell him down, because just like we talked about, Chris Bassett, adrenaline factor is off the charts. The same thing happens right now with Kyle Ryan.
I think that's one of the reasons why they started Holiday in the first game to catch a veteran in Max Scherzer, who pretty much knows what he wants to do. And they put their veteran catcher, Alex Avila, to face out at the youngster, who probably is going to take his lead. He went out there to try to settle him down. And there's Chris Bassett, who had a 1-2-3 first inning, which ended with a called strikeout, the 2-time MVP Miguel Cabrera.
There's a shot, and there's one, and rack 'em up. So just a tough luck right there. So hang with them for Javi. Meanwhile, after 1, no score. J.D. Martinez, and Alex Avila to face Chris Bassett. Victor 4 for 9 with a homer and 2 RBIs in the series. Comes in hitting at .329, 27 long ones, and 87 driven in. Takes that fastball at 93. Who was the first hitter you faced in the big leagues?
Longtime broadcaster Dave Campbell. Hit a 3-2 slider, dumped it into center field for a base hit. Larry Stahl hit a changeup at 2-0 out of the park, and I had an infinite ERA after 2 hitters. Got a little better after that, but not much.
Old teammate of mine, Larry Stahl, boy, he could hit it a long way.
He did that high change. I found out that high changes go a long way.
In a hurry. Yeah. 1-1 pitch.
Victor's a very proficient switch hitter who is a better hitter from the right side than he is from the left. But he is equally dangerous from both sides of the plate.
That's into left field, right at him. So Tank makes the catch, 1 out.
Bassett is from the Sox system, 16th round pick, 2011.
That'll bring up J.D. Martinez, hitting at .312, 17 homers. He's driven in 58. When they call him up, I think we were the first team he played against. He had 10 home runs down at Toledo in just a very, very short time.
But when Houston decided to let him go, credit Dave Dombrowski and his scouts for bringing him into the organization. And now he's a very productive member of the major league team.
High into right field. Two down. Well, the Tigers, they've got one of the top scouts in all of baseball, Scott Reed.
Been a good one for a long time.
Yeah.
I faced him as a player. Left-hand hitter.
Scott is one of the best.
The shift is on for Avila, who has become a dead pull hitter, which is one of the reasons why that batting average has been as low as it's been.
There's the strike to Alex. Well, certainly it helps when you've got all the way up and down good scouts, but that very, very seldom ever happens. But when you've got one guy that's your go-to guy, like a Scott Reed, boy, that is such a big advantage. For years, the Minnesota Twins, one reason they had such success in building minor league systems was a guy named Ellis Clary. And he was Howie Fox's go-to guy. All he had to do was call him and say, what about Steve Stone? What about Hawk? Can we use him? And Howie would go on what he said. It's just that simple.
I think at the time also, as they move forward, Terry Ryan was an evaluator, as was Bob Gebhardt. They did a pretty good job.
You know, for a long, long time, they had the best results in scouting in the American League. Three and one to count. Alex 1 for 4 in the series, comes in hitting at .221. And And there's the strike. Just catches the outside corner right at the knees.
This is a pitch that you can't really argue with if it goes either way. It's that close, and Chris got the benefit of the call.
Yeah, a lot of calls in baseball like that. It's according to which side of the field you're sitting on. And he walks in. So his first walk is first base running. We'll see how he is out of the stretch. Third baseman Don Kelly hitting at .248. No homers. He's driven in 5.
Don Kelly is like their Leury Garcia in that he plays all over, giving Brad Ausmus a lot of flexibility. And with short benches these days because of expanded bullpens, he's a handy man to have around.
Kelly takes a strike. That one at 92. And the count 0-2. And prior to the game, we had JRW out on the field being recognized and introduced. And as they were introduced, they all ran around the bases. And even the Tiger players that were on the field stopped him, gave him a big hand. Our guys lined up around third base and gave him high fives as they came around.
And well, they should. National champions. They took it a long way, and they came out of the losers bracket to do it. Tough thing to do.
Well, they became America's team.
And they got it done.
As that hit him. Didn't want to do that on 0-2. So now the walk to hit batsman.
Got him right off the shin. And because it was the other side of the guard, that one hurt.
So here's the switch-hitting shortstop, Andrew Romine.
They gave a shot to Romine to be the everyday guy at shortstop. And he played a whole lot of games, but then along came Eugenio Suarez, and he's taken over the job primarily.
There's first pitch strike. Two on, two out. There's that curveball.
And I love what I saw just before that curveball, and that was Alexi playing up the middle and looking at Carlos Sanchez and moving him back at second base and toward the hole. So that was a good curveball. And now he's in an 0-2 hole.
Ground ball on another breaking pitch. So he gets out of it. Nothing across. They strand a pair. After an inning and a half, still scoreless.
Game Zone banner for updated stats and information. The Game Zone is powered by St. Xavier University. Tradition and innovation, this is where they meet.
Viciedo, Canerco, Sanchez to face Kyle Ryan. Yeah, this guy's got a little sneaky in him.
Short armor, it's tough to pick it up.
It is. I mean, we had one here that couple of them. They had some short arm in them. Neil Kotz, Jim Parquet. And when they first time right-handed hitters, especially strong right-handed hitters, faced them, they were hitting line shots right over the first base dugout. And we got our JRW guys in the background right here. Our United States Little League World Series champions, America's team.
Beautiful ceremony down on the field before the game where the team was honored, and justifiably so. What they did was absolutely remarkable, and we're going to be able to talk with 3 of them coming up at the top of next inning.
1-2 the count to Tank. Tank hitting at .232, 16 homers and 47 driven in.
We're going to get a chance to talk with Marquise Jackson, who throws equivalent to 101 mile-an-hour fastball, by the way. Joshua Houston, who's the ace of their pitching staff, so a couple of pitchers, although Marcus also plays and hits. And Trey Andres, first base, catcher, and outfield. That pretty much covers it.
Well, everybody on that team could do something. You know, win the Little League World Series. As they get him, Laz Diaz said he stayed on the bag.
Oh,
So 1 out.
It says here that Trey Andres has a superstition.
I love his superstition.
Yeah, well, talking to girls before the games is good luck.
Talking usually to pretty girls.
He's learned it at a very young age. That's probably a good thing to do. Certainly didn't hurt his performance.
No. No, that was the thing. It's they want it, but it's how they want it too. So here's Paulie. Paulie hitting at .223, 5 homers and 22 driven in. There's a chopper, 2 hopper in the hole. Kelly. And 2 out. So right now with our 2 out, let's check out our pitch to play. Jim Angio, our directing crew, they went with Leury. Steve's going with Nieto. And Marissa Buckheit out of Wicker Park, who is Miss Chicago, Miss Illinois, and hopefully Miss America. We're going to go with Paul Canerco. Marissa sang the national anthem in our rally at Millennium Park. You know, what a voice. Wow, can she sing. She brought the whole crowd to their feet. And besides being beautiful, she is absolutely stunning. There's a strike. 1-1 to count to Sanchez. Carlos at .270, no homers and 1 driven in. And there's a base hit, breaking ball.
Carlos takes this one right back up the middle. And Ryan will probably learn that high breaking balls don't fare very well.
Here's Adrian hitting at .245, no homers, he's driven in 1. Outfield, straight up. Bit of a gap out there in right center. As the count moves to 2-0. Just tuning in. Last night, Verlander pitched well. Didn't have his real good stuff, but he pitched very well. In fact, some of the Tiger people told us the best he's pitched all year. Tigers won that game 7-1. Then we had the marquee matchup in game 1 of this doubleheader this morning. Chris Sale, Max Scherzer.
Two guys that will figure prominently in the Cy Young Award voting.
And Ian Kinsler led off the ball game with a home run. Torrey Hunter singled. Cabrera struck out, and then Victor Martinez hit a home run, so they led it 3-0 in a hurry. Then goose eggs for the next 6 put up there by Sale with 13 strikeouts, while our Sox got 1 in the first, 4 in the third, highlighted on a 2-run homer by Adam Dunn, 1 in the fourth, and 1 at 6-3.
Season high 13 strikeouts, and with that double-digit strikeouts ties the all-time franchise record held by Ed Walsh. Chris has got a lot of those double-digit strikeouts left.
That was very, very close. One of those either way, either or.
It could have gone either way, but umpires don't particularly like the bat toss without the walk.
And that's top foul.
As you can see, Chris Sale and Ed Walsh on top. Sale did it in just 81 starts. And Juan Pizarro, Javier Vasquez, and Alex Fernandez, all with many more starts than Chris Sale. He's got 7 of those just this year alone.
Two out, and the payoff pitch, and that's ball 4. That'll bring up Leury. Leury in very sporadic playing time, hitting at 176 with a homer. 6 RBIs, but he does have 11 stolen bases in 12 attempts. Chopper 2 hopper, Kinsler. And that'll do it. We'll go to the third. Still no score.
three members of the National Championship Little League team coming off just a whirlwind tour. And we've got Joshua Houston. Hello, Joshua. Marquise Jackson. Hello, Marquise. And Trey Hondras. And I guess, guys, the first question I have for you, has it all sunk in yet?
Not really. No, not really.
And you guys are making the trip to Disney World here pretty soon?
Yes. This weekend.
What was it like there to be under a media spotlight, have so much attention, when I don't believe you've had that before?
I mean, to us, it was like regular baseball. We was just playing our game, and the media and stuff was just like extra for us. So it was good. It was real good because our team likes attention a lot because there's some real good baseball players. So,
what did your coach tell you after getting defeated by Nevada 13-2 and knew you were diving into the losers bracket and you wound up winning it?
He just told us we have to keep our heads focused, and now we just got to win every game from now until the championship.
And when does fall ball start for you guys? Because I know it's going to come up pretty soon.
It's after Disney World.
How many games do you guys have in fall?
I don't know.
You just show up whenever they want you to?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is really great. I mean, you guys were terrific. I think you had the United States certainly captivated by your exploits. And in looking at it from start to finish, I would assume this had to be pretty much exciting every day.
yeah, it's been exciting because all these people are supporting us, and like we never knew we had this much people like really watching us and supporting us. But since we was in some Chicago kids, and there's been a lot of negative stuff here, so we made it positive here in Chicago, so it's real big.
You also had about 10,000 fans come to the rally where they honored you in Millennium Park. And did that send chills up your spine, or was just another progression on the way to hopefully a major league career for all of you?
It is still chills to my spine. It was just like, it was a lot of fans in Williamsport, so it was a good experience that I know that all those fans were supporting us while we were going. And I just think I'm one step closer to making my dream happen.
I think it's great, guys, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of people who never watched Little League Baseball that watched you guys, appreciated everything you did, and appreciated the fact that you had some adversity in the second game and you came back and won the national title. So congratulations to each and every one of you. It's a wonderful accomplishment. I'm sure one that you'll never forget. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Look.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. There's that curveball. You got away with one right there. Well, what a phenomenon that was. You know, it just goes to show you the way they did it. The way they kept coming back. Goes to show you the leadership they had from their coaches, their parents, their grandparents. It just goes to show you it can be done. It's just that simple.
And those 6 guys, 3 of which we talked to, 3 of which were in the booth, were all members of the ACE program.
That's the Amateur City Elite program that was started by the White Sox.
And it's a wonderful program. It's also had 14 players drafted by professional teams. And 85 participants in the program have received athletic aid to play collegiate baseball.
Davis going to knock him in. And it's a 1-0 Detroit lead.
RBI number 44. That was pretty good pitcher's pitch. Davis just went down and got it. Took it the opposite way. Now you get their best base runner at first base, and he figures to be trying to steal a bag here.
It's 31 for 39. So here's Kinsler. And went out to center field his first trip. And Davis has a good lead. There he goes.
I think Carlos thought he got him. Jeff Nelson said he didn't. He steals his 32nd.
I was actually looking in like he was robbing to come out.
Take another look at it, slow it down. Pretty good throw.
He's in there.
Yeah, it looked like he was in there with the left hand.
Terrific throw by Adrian. So now Kinsler's got a job to do. Takes first pitch strike. That one is 91. Two-hole hitter in this Detroit lineup is really an important piece of the puzzle.
Well, the first two games of the series, it was Torrey Hunter. But Hunter getting the nightcap off, and Kinsler moves to 2.
But Torrey understands what it takes to be a two-hole hitter. Even though most of his career he hit third or fourth. He understands the responsibilities. You got to be able to take a pitch. You got to be able to move the ball to the right side. There are a multitude of mindsets that go into hitting two on a contending ball club. In 05, we had Pasetnik leading off, and Tadahito Oguchi was just the perfect two-hole hitter.
Well, there are times when you have to be selfless, and that goes against a lot of things that these guys employ on the way up. Good two-hole hitters are invaluable.
And there's a base hit. Davis reading it. He's going to try it. And here's the throw. Way off the mark. Decent throw gets him. Wow. 2-0.
Well, Dave Clark realized that Viciedo at times has not had as much accuracy as he would like. And Kinsler hustling, going into second base on the throw. This ball is up in the zone. Ian Kinsler drives home run number 74. And this throw well off the mark.
So here's Cabrera. Struck out, called out on a real good curveball. There it was again. Lexi bobbles it. They had him at third if he comes up with it clean. Kinsler made a mistake and got away with it.
Lexi's been doing this more and more in cutting down the base runner going to third. And with the ball in front of him, Kinsler knows that he got away with a bad base running play and all kinds of time to get Cabrera, who's got that bad ankle, at first base.
So they're going to go ahead and put Victor on. We probably have two of the best at this particular point in time, two of the best RBI guys in the American League in this game. Yeah, Victor certainly is one of them behind our Abreu. And while they put him on, you can join the Sox as they honor retiring Captain Paul Konerko throughout September with tributes and special giveaways. So join Club Konerko, that's a special outfield section, to receive an exclusive Paul Konerko collectible. So for tickets and information, visit whitesox.com/Konerko. So here's J.D. Martinez. Blue plate special for him. He went out to right field. High fly ball. Curveball. Adrian keeps it in front of him. That one catches the corner for a strike. Got that fastball by him in the count. 1-2. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships. Defense wins ball games. He gone. 2 down. Big strikeout on that hook.
Well, especially in a situation where a fly ball scores a run. He took something off the curveball, swept it low and out of the zone, but too close to take, too far away to hit.
So here's Alex Avila. He walked. Last inning.
Avila out of the University of Alabama. And his father taught him how to switch it when he was young, but when he got to Alabama, started to be a straight left-hand hitter. And that's what he still is.
Count evens at 1. Finale of the series tomorrow afternoon, 1:10 starting time. That game, if you can't make it to the ballpark, will be over Comcast Sportsnet. Our Jose Quintana against their Rick Porcello. 2 good pitchers. There's a curveball strike.
Now he's got some pretty good command of that curveball. Didn't have it much until the called third to Cabrera in the first inning. The last couple of innings, he started to throw a whole lot of strikes with it.
If you're a third base coach today, with the rule the way it is, and if there's even remotely a chance, you got to send a runner.
Well, both these third base coaches are pretty aggressive. And you're right. I mean, we've seen it called a whole lot of times, not giving the runner a clear path to slide to the plate.
Well, here's that hook. But they come up with a pair. We'll go to the bottom of the third. They lead it 2-0. Feel for free T-shirt Mondays. Now, Monday, September 8th, first 20,000 fans will receive a Paul Konerko T-shirt. So watch as our Sox take on the A's at 7:10, and tickets start as low as $7. So to purchase, visit whitesox.com/Konerko. Top of the order: Eaton, Ramirez, Abreu. They see 22-year-old rookie southpaw Kyle Ryan, 6'5", 215 pounds, out of Auburndale, Florida. Yeah, Winter Haven, Auburndale, Lakeland, they all have real good baseball programs. Chopper. And one out.
Well, I love the fact in talking with some of our national champion Little Leaguers that they're going to play fall ball after going to Disney World.
By the way, very good job with that interview. Very good.
Thank you. I mean, those kids captivated a nation. It's an amazing thing. I'm sure that there's a whole lot of people watching and rooting that haven't seen Little League Baseball very much.
Well, when you get Major League players running up between innings to see what's going on, that'll tell you something.
It's a pretty amazing story, all things considered.
Well, they gave us a common bond. They gave us a common bond and a relief, a respite, so to speak, from. There was no conversation like at the rally, you know, when you looked around and everything, it had full house there as that's fouled back.
I love the people that came from Indiana, in some cases Michigan,
yeah,
just to see and honor that team.
You know, there was no thoughts of politics or color or anything. It was the Jackie Robinson West team, America's team. They brought us all together under the same umbrella. Two and two. Way out in front. Like I say, just scorched a double past Cabrera at first.
And Ryan, who's really had some problems in the first and second, pitched his way out of it. Soft tossing left-handers. I know that you probably enjoyed facing them.
Yeah, what hurts?
They're tough to hit.
Well, yes, Kinsler. 2 down. Yeah, they stuck that bat where it shouldn't go when I had to face those soft tossing left-handers. I had no chance. They had a good changeup. I'm telling you.
Who was the best soft tossing left-hander you ever faced?
Ron Peronowski.
He had a screwball.
He could go slow, and yeah, he could gas it up a little bit too when he wanted to reach back. But overall, he was a soft tosser. Give you a little turn over here, a little big curve, slow curve here. I couldn't hit him with a tennis racket. And the Baltimore had a left-hander with a great changeup, Frank Bertania.
Yeah, remember that? Remember the name?
John Hiller from the Tigers had a great changeup. Great changeup. But he wasn't a soft tosser. He threw hard.
I used to love to aggravate Lou Piniella because I would throw him a slow curveball. After a slow curveball, show him a fastball, wouldn't let him hit it because it'd be out of the zone, and another slow curveball. I remember in Baltimore, he was yelling out at me to throw him something he could hit. Sure, Lou, that's the object of this. Throw you something you can hit. He was a good hitter.
Well, that was a time zone back in those days, and of course in my time zone, that's when hitters and pitchers yelled at each other a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
I had my manager yelling at me 2 pitches into my career with the Baltimore Orioles. I threw ball 1, ball 2. He yelled at me, "Get the ball over the plate." I looked in the dugout. There's Earl standing there, and I asked Doug DeCenza, "Is he yelling at me?" He said, "Yep. He really dislikes when you don't get the ball over the plate." I said, "Yeah, I'm getting that feeling."
That's tough foul. Well, I have heard some of the most vulgar curse words and swearing at guys from managers who did not, when their pitcher did not get the ball over the plate. There's a shot foul. That one at 82 had him out in front.
Trying to extend that 10-game hitting streak. He had 3 of them in 4 at-bats in the first game.
High and wide, 2-2. Softly hit. So he goes 1, 2, 3, and he leads it 2-0.
Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 36 years. To join the nation, visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
Here's Don Kelly. He was hit by a pitch his first trip. And he takes ball 1. Drops the hook on him.
That's a great pitch to get a called first strike, because there's not many hitters going to swing at anything spinning on the first strike.
And there's the changeup. So far, so good, really, with Chris Bassett. Softly hit. And there is a duck snort. Couldn't throw it out there any better.
Adam with a good effort. He came up short. No chance for Alexi to get this one. It's a fastball on the inner portion. Kelly doesn't get a whole lot of it. Just enough to ease it over the head of Ramirez and drop it right in front of Eaton.
So here's Andrew Romine, grounded out to Konerko.
Brad Osma sitting over in there in that Tiger dugout. This is his 22nd year of professional baseball. 18 as a player. And this is his first stint as a manager.
There's a bunt, and it's a good one. Good job by Sanchez. Sacrifice 5-4.
Laid down nicely, leaving Leary with only one play, and almost throws it wide of the bag. So some good footwork by Carlos as he crosses first base. That sacrifice accomplished.
So here's Carrera. Hit that chopper over the head of Leary to start off last inning with that double, and he scored. And that's in the hole. So trouble a brewing. Runners at the corners, one out.
Adrian stepped out to give his set of signs to the infield, letting them know what he's going to do if Carrera decides to run. He's swiped 3, been caught 1 time.
And with that long arm throw that Chris has over to first base, good chance they're going to be doing some running.
It's Omar Vizquel in your picture between Paul Konerko and Ezekiel Carrera. And there's a look at the future Hall of Famer.
Davis has bounced back to Bassett and singled in a run, also stole a base and scored a run.
Well, Davis thinking about taking one for the club because it looked like he was ready to lean in, and then at the last instant kind of eased his body away from that hanging curveball.
Rajai Davis has always played well against us. Everywhere he's been. Always done stuff to help beat us in a ball game. There he goes. Got a break there. But they're going to be running every time they get somebody on who can run at all. Not
real good base running by Kelly at third base because if you're coming at all down the line when you see the catcher throwing to second base and you got your momentum going forward, you're going to score as soon as you see the carom. So he froze at third base and didn't score. So now it brings the infield in at all 4 positions.
And that'll load him up.
Don Cooper now going to come out. Wants a word with the young man making his major league debut. And he's got him loaded with only 1 out.
So while Coop has his say, join us on Friday, September 12th at 7:10 p.m. as our Sox take on the Twins. And the first 20,000 fans ages 21 and over will receive a White Sox Irish flat cap presented by Miller Lite. Also enjoy our post-game fireworks presented by Miller Lite. It's not just a good time, it's Miller time. Miller Lite, official beer of your Chicago White Sox. So whitesox.com/SPD or 866 Sox game. One of the hardest things in baseball to do, as any player will tell you, is win a doubleheader. First pitch strike. Made a good pitch on him. Kinsler 1 for 2 with an RBI.
Great speed at first. Very good speed at second. And okay at third.
And there's a base hit. It's going to score a pair. And it's 4-0. Davis will wind up at third. All started with that little flare by Kelly.
Kinsler goes out of the strike zone to take it back up the middle. Driving in runs 74 and 75.
So Kinsler, he's 15 for 18 in stolen bases. That fastball right there. Souvenir right side.
It's Daniel Webb throwing in the pen. And because in the first game Chris Sale went 7 and Putnam 1, Petrichka 1, Ben should be fairly rested.
When you don't have a good move to first base, the best thing you can do is just hold the ball on.
Well, one of the things they probably will have to work on is shortening his arm swing if he's going to pick anybody off.
They do get him, but the run scores. And it's 5-0.
RBI number 91. And without the bad ankle, Cabrera probably beats this out. That's one that I think Chris would probably like to have back because the one hopper got away. And that would have been a tailor-made 2 and out of the inning.
Well, a veteran pitcher right there would have known who hit it.
Yeah, that's right.
So here's Victor. He is lined out hard to Vicieto in left and was walked intentionally last inning. 5 runs on 6 hits, no errors for them. No runs, 2 hits, and no errors up on the board. That ball hit hard, but we got a man there. So a crooked number goes up on the board. We'll go to the bottom of the 4th, trailing 5-0.
Game, shifting Don Kelly over to first and Nick Castellanos at third.
Well, I was actually shocked he was in the game at all. This game, I mean, it's just hard to take him out of there. We've seen him play with 2 ankles when he couldn't hardly walk, and now we've seen him play on 1 leg where he certainly can't run.
No. So, and that's not going to help the Tigers' chances. Not hurting him here tonight to this point, but they got to have the big man healthy and productive.
Breaking ball strike to Avi. Avi hit the ball very hard to second base and into a 4-6-3 double play. It was a hang woofum for him. Well, if something happens to Cabrera's leg that he has to go on a DL or anything, can't play, then they might as well just kiss it goodbye.
That'd give a huge leg up to Kansas City. Viciano made a nice grab on a ball that was fouled off right back at him.
Well, Cleveland at Kansas City, top of the 4th inning, no score. One out.
First strikeout for Ryan.
And here's Tank. He bounced back to Kyle Ryan. First of the doubleheader in St. Louis, Cubs beat the Cardinals 5-1. Bottom of the 1st in game 2. Cubs lead at 1-0. 1-2 the count. Toronto got a 2-run homer from Jose Bautista, his 28th in the first inning, and held on and beat the Yankees 2-0. Hutchison over Pineda. High pop up, Kinsler. 2 out. So here's Pauly. He grounded out to Kelly at third base, who was at third base at that time. Takes first pitch strike. Outfielder straight up and spread out. Castellanos way back. A few steps off the line. And the count 2-1. And Castellanos playing imperfectly has got him. So that is 7 in a row retired by Kyle Ryan. Bark at the Park here at US Cellular Field, presented by Avoderm Natural Nylabone. So for more information, whitesox.com or 866-SOX-GAME. JD Martinez has gone out to right and struck out. It's a 5-0 Detroit lead in game 2 of this doubleheader. Sox took game 1 to Sale over Scherzer 6-3. Nice snap again. So 1 out. And we want to send a big White Sox hello and congratulations to our good buddy and his wife, Todd and Kristen Benjaminson, on the birth of their daughter this afternoon, Kira Francis. So congratulations. A beautiful couple and a beautiful girl. Here's Avila. He has walked and he has struck out, called out on a good curveball. That curveball misses. '27-year-old catcher. Well, he got a cookie there and made a good pass at it just underneath it. Yes, he did. And the count 2-2. Cleveland has scored a run. Kansas City hitting in the bottom of the fourth, trailing 1-0. He gone. Good pitch. Good hook.
That was a perfect pitch. And although Avila didn't seem to like it, that ball had the whole zone.
So the fourth strikeout. Now bring up Kelly. It was hit by a pitch, and he started off that 3-run fourth with a poster child of a duck snort. Almost tried for another one, but Adrian's got him, and that'll retire the side. So a quick 1-2-3 inning. We're halfway home. We need a lot of runs. Two and a third, 3 and a fourth. So for us, it'll be the lower third of our order. Sanchez, Nieto, and Leury Garcia. Sanchez has one of our 2 hits. Solid single with 2 out in the 2nd inning. Well, we have not seen a lot of Pat Hoberg, home plate umpire, but what we've seen so far, pretty good. He does not give you the appearance of anticipating at all, especially on that curveball, that big curveball. A lot of times you get an umpire who will anticipate on a guy who's got a big curveball, and he will not get it right.
Well, that's why the curveball kind of disappeared from the game, and there was a couple generations of sinker slider pitchers because you were getting called strikes, couldn't get the curveball called. Now they're calling it again.
Yeah, and also in that same era that you're talking about, the guys who did have to throw the curveball had to really change the plane up.
It went from that huge breaker over the top to a shorter, quicker break and a smaller break.
Low 9 right over the top. So 1 out. Here's Nieto. He walked back in the 2nd. Count evens at 1. Chopper 2 Hopper. Two down. That is 9 in a row retired by Kyle Ryan. And here is Leary. Grounded out to Kinsler. Oh, nice play. Nice catch. Bounced off his hands and he recovered, almost like Dwayne Wise's catch.
A little less dramatic, but a good catch.
Exactly. There's a chopper, and that's going to be a base hit. Castellanos tried to make the only thing he could do on it.
He had a pretty good idea of how fast Leary is, and so it's a do or die play. You either make bare hand throw in the same motion, or you're going to concede the base hit. He tried the bare hand, but never got the handle.
Well, the one thing about it, Nick, even if you made the play, you weren't going to get him. A good try. So here is Adam. He has grounded to short and he's grounded to second. Also, if you're just joining us, both these guys, Chris Bassett, Kyle Ryan, making their major league debuts. There's a tremendous gap between Carrera and J.D. Martinez.
As you can see, they're giving him all of right center field if he can just pull the ball.
And there's a base hit in the hole. So Leary will have to pull it up at second, and with 2 out, we have 2 on.
It's a low fastball, not near as effective as his high fastball.
Oh, Alexei, one swing of the bat here, buddy, and we get right back in this Wago. Alexei's 1 for 2, a double.
Jim Johnson losing in the pen. Man who saved 101 games over the previous 2 seasons, earning him a big free agent contract with Oakland. It just didn't work out. Tigers picked him up, put him in the minor leagues, and now brought him to the major leagues, where he's thrown the ball pretty well.
He just missed it. He just missed making it a 5-3 ball game. Meanwhile, we go to the 6th, trailing 5-0. Of this doubleheader and a third of this 4-game series. They lead at 5-0. And here's Andrew Romine, who's 0 for 1 with a sacrifice bunt. Takes first pitch strike. Good job by 3 men in kilts once again during our national anthem. These guys have a great time, do a great job. 2-1 pitch. Sound like a broken bat. And he get it. Got it. And here comes Osmus. He's going to look now and tell him get on the horn. Came hopping out of that.
That's Jeff Jones, the pitching coach, on the phone. And that means that their spotter thinks he was safe.
Yep. There's Diaz, one of my favorite umpires.
This is a manager's challenge. So he's probably feeling pretty confident about it. Carlos does the best he can to get it across. Woo. Well, that's really close.
That's not conclusive.
Nope, that's really close. Watch it from this angle. Well, that didn't look as close. Looked like he might have beat it on that angle. But we'll take another look. Paul does a nice job of scooping it out of the dirt. Now we'll see if the proof is conclusive.
That is the key phrase to all.
Conclusive.
Yeah. A lot of key phrases in baseball. One of them, conclusive. The other one, in the best interest of the game.
Yeah, usually when you hear that and you're involved, it's not going to work out real well for you. If they're invoking the best interest of the game clause, you probably have a problem.
While they are waiting, Sox fans, on Saturday, September 13th, come see our Sox take on the Twins at 6:10. And the first 20,000 fans will receive a Paul Konerko game-worn uniform baseball card presented by Wintrust Community Bank. So stay after the game for a post-game fireworks show. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/Konerko or calling 866-SOX-GAME. He's out. Not conclusive. Beautiful play either way by Sanchez. Little Mags looks just like him, like a little young Mags. So one out now, and here's Carrera. He is 2 for 2, a double, a single. He's stolen the base and he scored a pair. That double was just a chopper over the head of Leary. Single was hit hard in the hole. Oh, and 2 the count. And that curveball back through the middle. So he's 3 for 3. Good speed aboard, and he will be running. Rajai Davis. 1 for 2 with a stolen base, RBI, and a run scored. Make that 2-run score. He also walked and scored. Good lead. One and 0 the count.
Sox bullpen continues to work.
There he goes. No chance.
Didn't matter what Adrian did. Unfortunately, Chris is going to have to quicken up that move, or they're going to steal a lot of bases. Just about any team.
Yeah, somebody better hang out around second. As that ball into right field. We got a man there. 2 down. So here's Kinsler. He's 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs. He now has 75 on the season. Nice by Adrian.
When we say quicken up the move for Chris Bassett, from a pitcher's standpoint, average is 1.3 seconds from set to the time the ball hits the catcher's glove. And catchers average 2 seconds from the time they catch it to when they throw it and hits either the shortstop or second baseman's glove at second. So 3.3 is major league average. If that goes higher, then it's pretty easy for a good base stealer to steal. If it's under 3.3, if it's 3.1, 3 even, it's very difficult for a base stealer to steal second.
As Yank foul souvenir, and the count 1-2. Five, 7-0 film. No runs, 4 hits, no errors for us.
.95 pitches for the youngster.
That's softly into center field, and we got a man there. So that'll retire the side. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. We need some runs. Said earlier, one of the toughest things in baseball to do is win a doubleheader. It's a lot easier to lose one than it is to win one.
Well, our youngster has done a pretty decent job, giving up 5 runs and got the curveball over the plate. Their youngster has a shutout, and he's throwing awfully well, and soft tossing left-handers has really hurt our ball club.
Well, he's gotten his, as Steve mentioned, he's getting his breaking ball over. Hadn't used a whole bunch of change-ups, but he is a soft tosser. Topping out around 88, 89, so hopefully we can do something. And this the 3rd time around. There's one at 88. Abreu has walked and he has grounded to short. Jose on a 10-game hitting streak. Going to the count. That one at 86.
I'd like to send along congratulations to a dear friend of mine in Arizona, Jay Lawrence. Never been in politics before. Elected to the State House of Representatives. And the fun is just starting. I think you really have to go to work.
Down and in.
Pretty impressive numbers so far for Kyle Ryan. He's had pretty good command of everything. Jose still looks to extend that 10-game hitting streak.
And there it is. Just reaches out, pokes it. Boy, he's got a great 2-strike approach.
The contact he makes is so hard that if it's not hit right at somebody, they're not going to be able to get it.
Look how quiet his shoulders are with a 2-strike count on him.
What a hitter.
He just gets the leads with the hands, goes out and gets it.
That batting average will stay right around 320. That's how he came in. And it's been going straight up over the last 2 weeks.
That ball deep into right field, but foul. Well, there's one thing about it. If there's anybody right now with the best shot of winning a Triple Crown, it's Jose Abreu.
I think he's the only guy that's got a shot.
I don't see Altuve.
No, I don't think he's going to hit that many out of the ballpark from here on out.
No, but yeah, he's got a shot. There's no question about that. Leading the league in RBIs, one behind Nelson Cruz in home runs. As that pitch is going inside, so the count 2-1. 5th in the league in hitting. And the count 3-1. Let's get something going right here. This crowd's been into the game. Tony La Russa bobblehead night. That'll rev them up.
Drew just over 20,000 for the first game of the doubleheader, and more here tonight. Tony threw out the first pitch before the ball game. Cheated a little, moved way up. Player and manager. And into the Hall of Fame for Tony La Russa.
Well, it's a good thing he could manage.
Wouldn't have gotten in as a player?
No. What a career he had, though. One out, and here's Viciedo.
But now he's got his work cut out for him because he was hired, and a good hire by the Arizona Diamondbacks, to completely rework that organization. And Arizona, 19.5 games in back of the Dodgers at 56 and 78. Only Colorado has kept them out of the basement, and there's a lot of work to be done with those Diamondbacks, and Tony will get it done.
Tank bounce back to the pitcher and pop the second. And this one's popped up into short left center field. Carrera making the call all the way. I don't know if.
No, I don't know why Davis didn't give way before. They almost collided, and Carrera's the captain. He's a center fielder. When you hear his voice, you give way, but Rajay Davis got real close to knocking into him. Finally giving way at the last instant.
So here's Paulie. Twice he has gone out to third. Once Don Kelly was over there, and last time up, Nick Castellanos was there. No, Tony, man, he's 33 years in the big leagues, only got fired one time.
Congratulations.
That's amazing. It really is.
It is.
In this game, you only get fired one time. Now field straight up, spread out. And the count 0-2. Just tuning in, they scored 2 1/3, 3 1/4. And it's not like they were hitting rockets all over the place. They weren't.
No, they found some good places to land.
Soft duck snorts, choppers, just over the head. That one at 89.
Tiger bullpen up and going. As the 95th pitch of the evening will be delivered by Kyle Ryan.
Close pitch and a good job by Paulie. Although, as we mentioned, Pat Hoberg behind the plate. As you look at double-barreled activity, Johnson and Hardy. Pat Hoberg behind plate from Urbandale, Iowa. Pacific Coast League call-up umpire, and he has done a terrific job behind the plate tonight. We might be seeing a lot more of Mr. Hoberg. Chops that one foul. 2 pitch. And that's popped up. That's a can of corn. So we get to leadoff single by Abreu to extend his hitting streak to 11 games, and that's it. We're into the 7th.
Provided by 97.5 FM ESPN Deportes, Chicago's first and only Spanish language sports radio station.
So here's Castellanos to lead it off here in their half of the 7th. Takes ball 1. This is the 15th meeting of the year between these two clubs. In the first 14, they have split them. Two and 0. Nick hitting at .261, 10 home runs, 57 knocked in. One down. The fans for great seats to the game. Head to StubHub, where you can earn 2% back in fan rewards on every purchase, including White Sox tickets plus all-in pricing. There are no surprise fees at checkout. So StubHub, your tickets to upgrades and more. And the White Sox have just made a trade. As for immediate release, White Sox trade Alejandro Diaz to Baltimore in exchange for 2 minor league pitchers. Mark Blackmar and Miguel Chalice. Blackmar, 22, is 10-1 with a 3.18. A Class A Frederick. Over his last 10 games, he's gone 6-0 with a 2.09 ERA. That's out of play left side. Alejandro is a nice man, and we wish him the best.
And he moves right into the middle of postseason play.
Well, he is. He's a good teammate. He's good in the clubhouse. A nice person. Victor 0 for 2, and he's hit it right on the money both times. Also has been walked intentionally. Once to lefty lined out and once to righty lined out.
Daniel Webb throwing one more time.
Indians making a pitching change. One of the best lines I've heard in a long time was from Mike Meir, one of our cameramen. He said, can you imagine September 1st when Terry Francona gets 5 more pitchers in the bullpen?
I can. Going to put a little length to their game.
That was a great line. And there's ball 4. And here comes Robin. That was pitch number 105 for Chris Bassett. Then the line won't look that good, but it's how they got to 5 runs. It's been pretty impressive about this youngster making his major league debut.
He dropped the curveball over the plate. He showed some poise. And even though he did give up the 5, there weren't a whole lot of rockets, so he should feel pretty good about this outing, even though he comes out on the short side. We'll step out and be back after these messages. C8 out for the 48th time. Walks a little higher than he would like, but the stuff is there.
Yeah, that's not an issue. The only issue is getting it over the plate. So 1 on 1 out. And here's J.D. Martinez. J.D. is going out to right, struck out. Bounced back pretty hard to the pitcher. Low and away, ball 1. That one at 96.
Eric Surkamp throwing in the pen.
Ball gets away, but is foul tipped.
Martinez said he never tipped it, but Hoberg didn't agree. So no advancement.
5-7-0 for them, 0-5-0 for us. We won the first game 6-3. Chris Sale over Max Scherzer. Chris now 11-3. Scherzer 15-5.
Tried to heat him up with a fastball, but wasn't high enough to throw it by him.
Here you go. 2 down. Sox fans, we want to hear from you. Visit whitesox.com/TV survey. During today's game, provide us feedback for 2 tickets to a select White Sox game and a chance to win a signed Paul Konerko jersey and other memorabilia. Here's Alex. He has walked and struck out twice. Can't get that one at 96. And Alexi will take care of that, and that'll retire the side. 7th inning stretch. We need some runs.
Blaine Hardy comes in the ball game, and he's having a pretty good run at it. And this is his 29th appearance. He's 2-1. His ERA just 191. There you look at the numbers. Giving up just 1 home run. And opponents hitting in the 220s, and that's always good. So very nice job by Kyle Ryan. Major league debut. He'll go 6, give up 5 hits and no runs.
A very nice major league debut. Very nice. It'll be the lower third of our order here in the bottom of the 7th. Sanchez, Nieto, and Garcia, the schedule hitters, and all 3 switch hitters. Takes first pitch strike from the 27-year-old southpaw out of Edmonds, Washington. He did not go. And that is foul back. Got him. 1 out. And a Labor Day sale, save 50%. Get MLB.com at that premium features for only $4.99. You can follow every Sox game the rest of the season with MLB.com at bat on your favorite smartphone or tablet. Now, At Bat delivers live White Sox baseball wherever you go with live look-ins, replay previews, in-progress highlights, radio broadcasts, the MLB.TV game of the day, game day pitch tracking, score stats, and more. So WhiteSox.com/mobile. Strike to Nieto, who has walked and grounded to shortstop.
Alex Avila's had a good game in that he hasn't got knocked out. He hasn't got hit real hard on the thighs or the foot. Been a relatively painless experience for Alex in this game.
I'll tell you what else. Yes, he has, and we're proud of him for that. But
that
I'll tell you what he did. He took that
beating.
rookie and he nursed that rookie
Yes,
very well.
He called a very good game for him and handled him well.
So Hardy with 2 strikeouts.
Hardy has the same kind of deception in his delivery as did Ryan. Only his stuff looks to be just a touch crisper. It was hard to argue with the results of young Kyle Ryan.
So here's Leury. He has grounded to second, and he has an infield single. Boy, this is going to be an easy inning for that young left-hander. 1, 2, 3, and we'll go to the 8th.
Game. Ryan threw 6 innings, gave up 5 hits and no runs in his major league debut. Jose Abreu with a single and a 6th extends his hitting streak to 11 games. Start something special with great leases and low financing on your new Honda. Visit shophonda.com or your local Honda dealer.
Don Kelly takes ball 1. Don is 1 for 2. Hit by a pitch, then had a duck snort single that started off a 3-run rally in the 4th. Top of the 9th inning in Houston. Astros leading Texas 2-0. Top of the 8th in New York. 6-2 Phillies over the Mets. That's up high. Miami shutting out Atlanta 4-0. It's in the bottom of the 8th in Atlanta. Tampa Bay 7-0 over Boston. Top of the 7th in St. Pete. Bottom of the 7th in Kansas City, still 1-0 Cleveland.
Sanchez not very happy with himself.
Nope. Kelly's living right. They give him a base hit. Andrew Romine, he is 0 for 2 with a sacrifice bunt. And right to the bag, steps on it and rack him up.
Well, that was the original tailor-made 2. The broken bat looper took Alexi right where he had to be, and that was that.
143rd double play turn by our guys. Here's Guerrero. He's perfect. Chopper over the head of Leury at third for a double to start off that 2-run third. Then he singled and scored in the 4th, and he singled in the 6th, and he has picked up 2 stolen bases. 23,723. Bottom of the 2nd at the big A. No score. Oakland. Angels now with a 3-game lead over the A's. Chopper. And again, a nice play. So the double play eases things, and we'll go to the bottom of the 8th. We still need 5 to tie. Top of the order here in the bottom of the 8th, Eaton, Ramirez, and Abreu. Blaine Hardy. To another count. Adam has grounded to short to second, and he has singled. Checks it up, fouls it off.
Tried to get the bat back out of there, just couldn't do it.
And the finale of this series tomorrow. And this homestand. 1:10 start. Make your plans to be with us if you can. It'll be over Comcast Sportsnet. Jose Quintana against Rick Porcello. Full count. And there is the dreaded leadoff walk.
And Brad Ausmus coming out. Doesn't wait to even get to the line before he motions to the pen. So that will be it for Hardy. And as he walks out, we'll step out and be back after these messages. He's 5-2, but his ERA up close to 7, on for the 44th time. Started the year with Oakland. Didn't pitch particularly well. 1-0 with Detroit. And his ERA with the Tigers an even 6. He comes in with a 5-run lead, and he inherits Adam Eaton at first base.
Here's Alexei. He's 1 for 3, a double, and then last time up with a couple of guys on, he just missed hitting one out of here. Takes first pitch strike from the 6'6" right-hander. 0-2 the count.
Johnson set the Orioles single season record with 51 saves. That was back in 2012. Followed it up with a 50 save year last year, and followed that up by heading to Oakland.
Yanks that one foul. Well, after those 2 seasons, he had to get a pretty good deal.
$10 million, 1 year.
That's a pretty good deal.
It's a good deal. However, couldn't take the magic from east to west, because he really struggled with the Athletics.
Just got a piece of that one. Well, that's a good 2-strike here. Well, he got a cookie right there and couldn't stay back on it.
This ball hangs on the inner third, and Alexei not very happy with himself. Some of the guys from Jackie Robinson West signing autographs.
Wheeler keeps it in front of him.
That's great.
And he just did nick it. And that got a piece of Alex.
I figured he had gone too long without getting hit. So he's going to walk that one off, or try to at least.
It's amazing.
They're throwing them all over. The 8th pitch was in off the plate.
Checks it up. 2-2.
Long at bat. The 10th pitch from Johnson.
That ball hit hard, but it's going to be over his head. So now they're going to hold the leadoff walk. Adam Eaton at third.
Rajai Davis got fooled by that because he cut straight across and then had no chance for it. The ball was scalded, but Davis looked like he took a step in, then across, and Ball got by him.
That's double number 30 for Alexei.
You saw 2 steps in, and then
And here is Abreu. He has walked, he has grounded to short, and he has singled.
If he can drive them both in, he'll be at the century mark. Sitting on 98. Runs batted in.
Takes that one down low.
Our 4th drive of the game came leading off a 6th inning, giving him an 11-game inning streak.
Checks it up and the count 2-0. So the catbird seat, ducks on the pond, nobody out. We need 5 to tie here in the bottom of the 8th.
The bullpen for the Tigers very active.
And the count 3-0. That pitch just missed.
Jabba Chamberlain and Phil Koch. Chamberlain, the bearded right-hander.
And that's ball 4. That'll load him up. And here comes Avi.
And here comes Brad Ausmus. He wants Jabba Chamberlain. So as Chamberlain strides in, we'll step out and be back after these messages. .340. Got a couple of saves. There you look at the numbers. 51 strikeouts, 21 walks in 53 innings, and he inherits a whole lot of problems. Bases loaded, nobody out. Jabba came up with the Yankees. When he came into this league, he had one of the great power arms. Doesn't throw near as hard as he used to. But by and large, a pretty good job out of the bullpen for the Tigers.
So here's Avi. He is 0 for 3, and he has never faced Chamberlain. Outfield, they are deep. And he chases one way out of the zone. Didn't bite after that one, and that evens accounted 1. DeCieto on deck. It's the big pitch coming up, the 1-1. That's another one out of the zone. So now he's in the hole 1 and 2. And that strike zone just really enlarged. He did not go. Good job by Avila. There's a chopper. They cannot turn it. So it's a 5-1 ball game with runners at the corners and 1 out. That big man can move it down that line.
Drives in his 14th run of the year. And a good job by Don Kelly at first base to keep this ball out of the dugout.
So here's Tank. He has faced Jabba 3 times and he has 2 hits. Tonight he has bounced back to the pitcher, popped up to second, and gone out to center. And he's got the Catbird seat at 2-0. That ball hit high and deep to right center field. Way back, he looks up. You can put it on the board. Yeah. Yeah. A 3-run homer, and it's a 5-4 ball game.
Viciedo is now driven in an even 50, his 17th home run of the year. And the Tiger bullpen, which has been troublesome for them all year long, has given up a 4 spot here in the 8th. An opposite field drive and a no-doubter.
So here's Paulie. Paulie is 0 for 3. He's due. Takes a breaking ball strike. Paulie has faced him 4 times, and he's 0 for 4. Five, 8-0 for them. 4-7-0 for us. Checks it up. Laz said he did go, so the count 0-2. Tank 17 homers, and as Steve mentioned, 50 knocked in. That fastball at 94 evens the count at 2.
That's only the 3rd home run that Chamberlain has given up in 59 games.
Just did get a piece of it. Sox won the first of this doubleheader. 6-3 behind Chris Sale over Max Scherzer. Trying to come back here and sweep this doubleheader and take a season series edge over Detroit. Two down. So here's Sanchez. Carlos 1 for 3. Bobbled, recovered, and they get him, but we get right back in it. A 3-run homer by Viciedo. We go to the 9th, trailing by 1.
Record. He does have a 4.57 ERA on for the 21st time. And things a little more interesting as it becomes a one-run game heading into the top of the ninth, and Michael Clato will have to deal with the top of the order.
Kansas City has tied up that game with Cleveland at 1, still hitting in the bottom of the 8th. So here's Rajai Davis. He is 1 for 3 with 2 runs scored and an RBI. There's a strike to even the count.
Here's our Xfinity Speed replay, and his stolen base by Rajai Davis in the 3rd. He came home to score. And Ezekiel Carrera's stolen base in the 4th. He also came home to score.
That's a can of corn into center field.
Good man to keep off base in a close game.
And here's Kinsler. He's 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs.
There's their closer, Joe Nathan. He'll undoubtedly come in to try to nail it down. He's got 28 saves.
Off the end of the bat, and it broke it. 0-2 the count. The 31-year-old second baseman who was very, very aggressive. He's now 4 for 11 with a homer and 6 RBIs in this series.
That's a good series. With 1 more to go tomorrow.
Now straight back.
Just in case, Javi Guerra loosening up.
Softly hit. And it's a base hit. Boy, they have 5 runs on 9 hits, and they have not hit the ball very hard at all tonight.
And Kinsler can run. He swiped 15, but caught 3 times. So here's Nick Castellanos. Been to the plate 1 time, hit a little looper to second. If you're just tuning in, they scored 2 in the 3rd, 3 soft ones in the 4th. He scored 4 in the 8th, and that's where we stand. 5-4 Tigers. There he makes it. A fake to second.
And there is a base hit. So 1 out, 2 on, and that'll bring up the man for them, Victor Martinez.
And that'll also most likely bring in Javi Guerra.
So Robin, with that slow walk out to the mound, has made the call. Michael Clado will depart. Guerra comes on and will be back.
On for the 34th time. Hasn't fared well in save opportunities. The opponent's hitting just .235. He inherits runners at first and second. Only 1 out here in the ninth as the Tigers try to add some insurance to that 1-run lead.
Victor Martinez 0 for 2 tonight. He's walked twice, once intentionally. So Ivy has concluded his warm-up tosses. The 2 outs that Victor's made have been a line shot to left and a line shot to right. One out, 2 on.
Hey, Blue, check that pine tar. Hey, Blue, check that pine tar. Look how high that is. That's not legal. Look at that. That's way up there. Blue.
Outfield straight up bunch just a bit. Curveball strike. Got that one by him. That one at 93. So 0-2 the count. To just a tremendous clutch hitter.
And if he strikes him out, it's going to be very rare. 38 strikeouts, 464 at bats.
Well, there are some guys that are just good hitters, and there's some guys who are not. And the reason being is he hits it. He didn't want to do that. So that will load him up. Hit him on an 0-2 count. But one of the reasons he is such a good clutch hitter is because of the fact the way he competes up there. He will just absolutely battle you. Meanwhile, Sacks packed.
And they're going to come out to look at Victor, see if he's okay. Got hit with a curveball, but nonetheless, he's aboard. Curveball hit him in the fleshy part of the thigh.
Well, he said, go on back in there, I'm fine. So we talked about Jim Thome just absolutely loves Victor Martinez as one of the greatest guys he ever played with.
Came up through the Indian system when they developed hitter after hitter after hitter.
So here's J.D. Martinez, takes that fastball at 94 upstairs. 1-0 the count. J.D. has faced Javi 4 times and he's 0 for 4.
Good speed at third.
Big hack in the count, evens at 1.
Umps in the stands wanted that, but that ball was inside.
I tell you, this young man, Pat Holberg, has had himself one heck of a game behind that plate.
Done a nice job.
He has had one beautifully umpired ball and strike game. Checks it up, fouls it off, and that'll even the count at 2.
Left his bat in the zone because that ball was down and out of the zone. Would have been a 3-1 count. So there's a break.
And that's in the center field. That's going to get one in. And they lead it 6-4.
RBI 59 for Martinez. He got one up in the zone, and he got the job done. That's his 5th sacrifice fly. One of the guys that this team is really missing is Andy Dirks. He had back surgery in the offseason. He's tried to come back 3 different times, and 3 different times they had to shut him down. Won't be able to play this year.
So here's Avila. He's 0 for 3 with a base on balls. Curveball high. And the count 2-0. Yes, sir. They have had some very, very soft hits among those 10. Only a couple have been hit hard. Good rip right there by Alex, and the count 2-1. Next pitch thrown will be 575th pitch in this ball game.
Seems like 1,000.
And I'll bet you Pat Hoberg has not missed more than 2. If that. And there's a base hit. So their bullpen gives it up, and ours comes right back and gives it back.
For one of the few times in the series, Avila hit it away from the shift. That's the 40th driven in. Took that fastball away and hit it through the vacated shortstop position. See where Alexi is set up.
So here's Kelly. No, that couldn't be right. 575 pitches. Kelly is 2 for 3 with 2 soft singles, 1 duck snort and 1 infield.
These two take a whole lot of pressure off of Joe Nathan.
For our guys in the 9th, it'll be Nieto, Garcia, then back to the top of the order at a meeting to schedule hitters. Now feel straight up. Now that one's hit hard. So they're going to wave Avila around. Here's the throw to the plate. They get him. A beautiful relay right there. Meanwhile, they put 4 on the board and they lead it. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th. By Brad Ausmus.
Well, he's clearly not blocking the plate without the ball. And that foot might have gotten in the front foot before he tagged the back foot. But that being said, it's on to the bottom of the 9th. 4-3 ERA, 5.25, on for the 52nd time. 28 for 34 in save opportunities. Overall, has not been a great year for him.
And here's Gillespie hitting for Nieto. They lead at 8-4. Get back in this game, getting their bullpen for 4, and they get ours in the 9th. As we talk about so often, it's a battle of bullpens. Gillespie at .299, 6 homers, 48 knocked in. 2-0 the count. Three and nothing. Don't help him out.
Hey, Connor, I'm going to need you to take this pitch.
Yuri Garcia on deck. Adam Eaton in the hole. That's into right field. And Yannick, 1 out. Yuri 1 for 3 with an infield single. And he takes ball 1. Ground ball, shortstop, and 2 out. So here comes Adam. Adam is 1 for 3, a single, a couple of ground outs, a walk and a run scored. First pitch strike. Also, if you're just tuning in tonight here, the Sox traded Alejandro Diaz to Baltimore for exchange for 2 minor league pitchers. And the count 0-2, so we're down to our last bullet. Alexi on deck. Alexi tonight 2 for 4 with 2 doubles. Alexi now with 30 on the season. Tomorrow in the finale, a game on Comcast Sportsnet would be Jose Quintana against Porcello. Porcello for the Tigers. 8-12-0 for Detroit. 4-7-0 for our guys. Full count.
So Nathan carrying on an animated conversation with himself.
Good rip ball. A little high. He's got it, and this ball game is over. So we get right back into it, scoring 4 times in the bottom of the 8th inning to trail it 5-4, and then our bullpen gives up 3 in the 9th. They win it 8-4, and we'll be back.